What if everything you've been told about how wealth is built is a lie, or at least a half-truth? What if the real system is rigged, invisible, and far more brutal than the get-rich stories you see online? Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain. I'm going to show you how the rich actually build and maintain wealth, and why most people are locked out of that process. But more than that, I'll show you how the history of money, power, and institutions has shaped today's wealth system, and how you can still use that knowledge to change your trajectory. Stay with me. The twist is coming. What you think is the path to wealth might be exactly what keeps you from it. They'll tell you, invest in stocks, compound interest will work, start a business, diversify. But they don't tell you the rules are different depending on which side of the barrier you're on. They don't tell you how the system was built. They don't tell you how those at the top rigged it, so compounding works for them more than you. That's what we'll uncover step by step. Before we talk about how wealth is really built, let's clear something up. Wealth isn't about hard work. It never was. Because hard work alone never built an empire, systems did. Look back through history. Every empire, every dynasty, every so-called golden age was built on one thing: control. Control of resources, control of labor, and most of all, control of the rules. You can trace it all the way back to the beginning, when land was the ultimate currency. The few who owned it didn't need to work it. They simply took a share of everyone else's labor. And with that system, a pattern was born. A pattern that still shapes the world you live in right now. In ancient times, wealth was dirt. Literally, land was power, and those who owned it wrote the laws to keep it that way. The farmers worked the fields. The nobles owned the fields. The farmers produced the food. The nobles collected the taxes. Over centuries, the rich discovered something: you don't have to build wealth through effort if you can design a system that pays you automatically. So they built one. A system where your position mattered more than your productivity. And while the peasants were told to pray harder, work harder, and be grateful, the landowners were quietly passing their estates to their heirs, locking wealth in bloodlines that lasted centuries. The idea of hard work equals wealth? It began as a story told to keep everyone else compliant. But then something changed. The world discovered trade, exploration, colonies, gold and silver began to move across oceans. And with it, a new game emerged. The merchants realized that wealth could multiply faster through exchange than through labor. If you could buy low and sell high, move goods from poor regions to rich ones, control routes, monopolize supply, you could build empires without ever lifting a sword or a shovel. That's how the first global fortunes were born. The Dutch East India Company, the British trading networks, they weren't just businesses. They were financial weapons. They used private armies, political influence, and legal privilege to dominate entire continents. And yet, the ordinary person still believed, work hard and you'll rise. But the system had already evolved beyond labor. It was now about leverage. The idea of hard work equals wealth? It began as a story told to keep everyone else compliant. When the Industrial Revolution hit, the myth of meritocracy was reborn. Factories needed workers, cities needed dreamers, and for a moment, it looked like effort could finally buy freedom. But once again, those who controlled the machines got rich, not those who operated them. See the pattern? Every time the world changes, they rewrite the story to make you believe that this time it's fair. That this time, your sweat will be enough. But the truth is colder than that. The rich don't trade time for money. They trade systems for time. As the machines grew, so did the banks. Because machines cost money, and money could be borrowed. The bankers realized if they could control credit, they could control everything. Loans, interest, debt, these became the new chains. Not made of iron, but of contracts and signatures. And through them, Wealth could now be created from nothing. A dollar lent at interest could become 2, then 4, then 8. Compounding was no longer a mathematical formula, it was a weapon. And those who understood it early used it to dominate the modern age. But every empire reaches a point where greed outpaces stability. The early 20th century saw the first cracks: wars, collapses, inflation, revolution. Old fortunes were destroyed. New ones rose from the rubble. Industrialists became bankers. Bankers became politicians. And once again, they rewrote the rules to ensure the same pattern survived. After World War II, something rare happened. For a brief moment, ordinary people began to rise. Factories were booming. Wages were growing. Houses were affordable. The middle class was born. But underneath that golden surface, the same machinery was waiting quietly to take it all back. By the 1970s, inflation hit. Wages froze. Corporations found new ways to protect profit. Outsourcing, automation, and later, finance. The system flipped again from producing goods to producing money itself. And those who controlled capital began earning not from labor, but from the movement of numbers on screens. This was the rise of financialization, the age where money made money faster than people could. The gap between the worker and the investor exploded. And when markets crashed, who paid the price? The taxpayer. Who got bailed out? The system itself. It was the perfect loop. Profits were private, losses were public. The cycle that began with feudal lords now wore suits and managed hedge funds. Different tools, same outcome. Most people don't see it. Because they're too busy playing the game the system told them to play. Work more hours, save a little, buy a house, retire at 60. But what happens when your savings lose value, your house costs triple, and retirement disappears into a debt you didn't create? That's when you realize the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. So now you see, wealth isn't magic. It's not luck. It's a system, a structure carefully designed and fiercely protected. The rich don't play harder. They play a times different game asterisk. They build assets that compound, own systems that others depend on, and use time itself as their leverage. For centuries, the formula has been the same. Control resources, build institutions, create dependency, reinforce the cycle. But here's the twist. You're living in a time when the gatekeepers are weaker than ever. Technology, global access, and information are shattering the old monopolies. The question is, will you use this window or let it close? Because every empire falls, every system resets, and every generation gets a choice to be consumers of power or creators of it. So remember 3 things. First, wealth isn't built by saving. It's built by time's owning asterisk. Second, money follows control, not labor. And third, the system won't change for you until you learn how to use it. If this opened your eyes, don't just click away. Share this. Question everything you were taught about money and start studying the real game. Because the next decade will make or break an entire generation, and silence is how they win. If this opened your eyes, don't just scroll away. Like this video, it helps more people see what's really going on. Share it with someone who still believes wealth is just about hard work. And subscribe, because the next videos will dig even deeper into how power and money actually move. Stay sharp. The system's real, and now you know how it works.